Tomato with beef. Whoa. Bingo? He said bingo. All right, everyone, we've been really busy in the garden this summer, and we have been harvesting tons of cherry tomatoes and a few of these heirloom tomatoes that have actually turned out pretty nicely. And I'll tell you, heirloom tomatoes, I don't know about your growing skills, but these are tough to grow because between the animals getting them and being too wet half the time or whatever, they're hard to grow. So whenever we get these, we're valuing these. So what we're gonna make today is one of my favorites, beef tomato stir fry. And the key to this, right, is a couple of things. You wanna get nice, ripe summer tomatoes. This is the perfect time to do it. Could you make it with cherry tomatoes? Yeah, they got more seeds in them, a little bit less, but why not, right? Use what you got. Enjoy the sweetness of the tomatoes while they're there. Traditionally, I mean, you can use another protein, beef or pork or whatever you like, but you know, it's always been beef for us, and I think that goes the best. So we've got our aromatics here that we prepared, and as usual, we portion out all the sauces. So we've got our Shaoxing wine, we've got our soy sauce with the sesame oil. We put the ketchup out separately because we are gonna briefly fry the ketchup to get a little bit of nice aroma there. Our sugar and pepper, shallots, and garlic. Now, I don't have salt in here because we've got a good amount of soy sauce, but you know, you can season it to taste however you want. Use less soy sauce and more salt. Same thing with the sugar, right? So if your tomatoes aren't as sweet or if they're a little bit more tart, you could completely eliminate the sugar or use a little bit less. Today I used a teaspoon of sugar. All right, we got to prepare our beef. We're using flank steak, which was the cut of choice always because of its beefy flavor, if you will. It's really good, it's tender, but I do recognize that beef has gotten really expensive over the last few years, and you know, $9.99, $12.99 a pound now, really expensive. So feel free to check our how to prepare beef for Chinese stir fry post, which actually gives you ideas on different cuts using London broil, using even chuck steak, and sort of breaking it down and using certain pieces of chuck steak, which is a lot cheaper, and it's really good, especially if you use the velveting technique, which we're going to do today. But today we do have flank steak, and we're going to marinate it and velvet. That's the first thing you should do because it does need a little bit of time. All right, so what we've done is we've sliced beef into bite-sized pieces, pretty thin actually, about like 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch thick. And what we're going to do today is we're going to use the shortcut method. And again, back to that, how to prepare beef for stir-fry post. There's a shortcut method or there's a rinse method. Now, I like using the shortcut method for, especially for flank steak, 2 reasons. Number one, it's fast. Number 2 is that flank steak's pretty tender already. So in this case, we're gonna put about, for a pound of beef, we're gonna put about 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda. Okay, it's gonna tenderize it nicely. And then with that, usually beef is fairly dry, and it's cut right out of the package almost. I just give it a quick rinse on the surface, cut it against the grain again. So I only add about 1 tablespoon of water. And what this does is it keeps your beef moist when you're in that hot wok. So we've got the baking soda, and that's what I like to do is put the baking soda on, pour the tablespoon of water over so it kind of gets everywhere. Now, the next thing I need is a little bit of oil and some oyster sauce. So for a pound of beef, I'll put about 2 teaspoons of oyster sauce. It's about 1 teaspoon. And hey, you can err on the side of more for a little bit more flavor. Okay, so put that in there. Use my fingers, it's okay in the kitchen. I'm gonna use a little bit of oil here. About 1 teaspoon of oil, 2 teaspoons of cornstarch, 1 and 2. Okay, now, and a little Shaoxing wine, a teaspoon of Shaoxing wine. Okay. Now it's important, like the hydration of the beef varies. Some, like I said, some people wash the beef, some people don't. And the reason why I say that is because in the wok, some people will say to me, oh, well, it's kind of like a paste and it's too wet and it sticks and everything. So you don't want it to be wet. I'll show you what happens. I'm gonna mix it with my hands like I usually do. Mix everything together. And you can see there's some juice at the bottom. Well, that's already been absorbed actually. Some juice at the bottom. So mix it really well. Okay, and you can see all the water, that tablespoon of water, that Shaoxing has been mixed. You really can't tell that there's cornstarch in here. It's only 2 teaspoons of cornstarch, right? And it's going to protect and seal in juices, and then that baking soda is going to work to tenderize it. All right, you could set this aside for as little as 20 minutes, overnight even if you want. We're gonna set this aside for about 30 minutes. So while we have this marinating, we'll prepare the rest of the dish, including cutting our tomatoes, preparing our aromatics, which is the scallion, the shallots, the garlic. We'll prepare the cornstarch, and we'll be ready to go. We've got our heirloom tomatoes here, grown ourselves. You know, they're not pretty tomatoes, actually. They kind of got like wrinkles at the top, but we picked these when they were just starting to turn yellow or orange, just getting some color on them, because I found that if I try to leave them on the vine, they get eaten by squirrels, pecked at by birds, so that's the strategy. And these have been sitting around for about a week. So I'm gonna start by cutting these tomatoes. These are mortgage lifter heirloom tomatoes, and these are pineapple, I think, variety of tomatoes that we got from a neighbor who actually planted the seedlings, and we bought them from her. So what I want to do is cut these in wedges, and I want to cut off these cracked portions. So let's see, here's the moment of truth here. Whoa, look at that. Now that is a homegrown heirloom tomato, right? So I'm just gonna sort of shave off this top part. Make sure you start with a sharp knife, because these skins sometimes, if you had a dull knife, it's really tough to cut. So I've got that, right? I've washed these, by the way. To use another expression from Emeril Lagasse, I don't know, I've got him on my mind, is that I wish you had smell-o-vision, because these tomatoes, the aroma coming off these tomatoes are incredible. So here's the way you cut these, right? So I'm just going to cut them into like small wedges, like this. This is the way you would just eat tomatoes if you were just cutting them in a salad, even, about that size, like a fork size, right? So we have about 2 pounds of tomatoes here for this dish, this pineapple tomato. So let me cut this in half. And this has sort of like a reddish yellow flesh. Okay, we got this little spot here that's actually started to sort of, for lack of a better term, is starting to rot a little bit. So I'm gonna cut that out, okay? Perfectly fine. That's what happens when you let it ripen. And then we're gonna cut these also into wedges. Beautiful. So these are gorgeous. Beautiful. Look at that. Like I said, these things smell delicious. So I'm just trying to keep bite-sized pieces. That's what we have here. You know, this is clearly an ugly heirloom tomato, but you know, ugly tomatoes, ugly produce is still good. Very delicious. So I say it's 2 pounds of tomatoes I start off with, but maybe there's like 4 or 5 ounces here that of the top that's unusable. All right. And here are heirloom tomatoes. You've got a little bit of pineapple tomatoes mixed in with some mortgage lifter tomatoes, and these, along with this, is just gonna be your beef and tomato. Oh yeah, let's go to the wok. Also, do not overcook your tomatoes. Your tomatoes you want to throw in there and not have a lot of wok time because you want to enjoy the deliciousness of the tomato. So I like the tomatoes just a little bit al dente. And of course, this is going to depend upon how good your tomatoes are. The better your tomatoes are, the less you cook them. That's what I say. Because if you overcook them, they're just going to melt away, and you're going to have this beef with sauce and little chunks of tomatoes in it, and that's not what we're looking for. We want to enjoy the tomatoes. So let's go to the wok and do it. Tomato with beef. What we have to do is first stir fry the beef. So I'm going to let this wok superheat. Are we smoking? We are smoking. I'm going to put a little oil in there. Let it go around the wok. Let her go. You got to spread the beef around the wok. That's a lot of beef. Awesome. I love this little pow wok.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Little Wonder Light.
We're going to sear this beef. Make sure all sides are seared really nicely. Don't want to overcook our beef, so here we go.
Still pretty pink.
It's okay. Lost a little stray piece. Pick him back up. Oh, you can feel how tender that is, the velveting. So, we're going to put this back in. I'm going to lower the heat a little bit so we can manage it. Put a little of this oil in. Put a couple of ginger slices in here. Infuse the oil with some ginger. And again, I've got low heat right now. And notice I didn't wash the wok because we got all this beef deliciousness in here that was going to just automatically deglaze. To give it a few minutes. Then, I'm going to fry the ketchup. Two tablespoons of ketchup. We're going to fry it up a little bit. We're going to lower the heat a little bit even. The ketchup's got sugar, don't want to burn it. Add a little bit more oil even. I don't think I had enough oil. All right, turn the heat back up. Going to add the shallots. Going to add the garlic. All right, the wok is screaming hot now. Putting the tomatoes in. Just gonna give it a little sear.
15 seconds.
About 15 seconds, because these tomatoes are gonna break down. And then, just gonna move these aside. Almost forgot our Shaoxing wine. All right, I'm gonna give this a little shake because the wok has cooled off a little bit. Okay. Oh, I smell that ketchup. This is the soy sauce and sesame oil mixture. We got our sugar and white pepper. Okay. And then stir this around. So now we got a little bit sizzling action going. We're going to add the beef back. Add the beef back, give it a few tosses. Yeah. That looks great. That's about where we want it. Now we're gonna add a little bit of cornstarch to tighten up that sauce a little bit. This is where we gotta work fast because those tomatoes are gonna break down. Put a little cornstarch on there. That looks good. Look at that, beautiful. Toss in the scallions. And serve! Okay. Here it comes. Oh, look at these tomatoes, they're gorgeous. Yeah. And that is beef with tomatoes. Perfect summer dish. It really looks nice with those pineapple tomatoes and the mortgage lifters color-wise. But have this with over rice, must be essential. Beef with tomatoes. Let's go to the table. Okay, let's try this. And of course, I'm gonna go for, actually, I'm gonna go for a piece of beef and tomato. And the red ones, mortgage lifted tomato. Look at that. Gorgeous. Let's see it. That's right on. Tomatoes are perfect. Just cooked through, not too cooked. They're just starting to melt, which is okay, but you know, this is kind of like cooking steak. If you want the tomatoes a little bit more raw, cook them less. If you want them a little bit more well done, you cook them a little bit more well done, however you like them. This is just a little bit more than I'd like it.
I think it looks perfect.
It is pretty good. The tomato and the beef. So we've been here for about, I plated this about, I don't know, it was about 5 minutes ago. And between all the videoing and all the photographs, and then now we're tasting it, you can see that there's some liquid flowing out of the tomato, perfectly normal. And it's kind of very nice to have that with the rice. And in fact, you use your serving spoon. And this is a little bit of a lesson, right? So our stagers chose this cute little dish, but it's actually a little bit undersized for this dish. You want to have a bigger dish because this is what's going to happen. The liquid is going to come out, and this is perfectly fine, right? So you're going to sort of mix things up a little bit as you're serving it, and then so it's not so much liquid. And I'll tell you what, when I was 5 years old, this is what I would eat. My mother would just put a little bit of this juice on, forget the beef, forget the tomato. That's what I would eat. Now, I crave this, the tomatoes. And the sauce, the rice that's drenched with the sauce, I can't even pick it up. Look how good that is. Delicious. And I'll mention one more time, when you're cooking, if your tomatoes are super ripe like these, I just put a little bit of a minimum amount of sugar in there to sort of complement the salinity of the soy sauce, and also take a little bit of the edge of any acidity off the tomato, but really didn't need it. But if you have tomatoes that are a little bit more on the tart side, then you want to add the sugar. Maybe even you want to add a little bit more sugar. It's okay, it's up to you. But it all depends on your produce and what you want to work with, or what you have to work with. So most importantly, enjoy the summer and enjoy this beef with tomato stir fry. Until next time, and if you like this video, hit like and subscribe to walksoflife.com. Right, so I already mentioned about the ketchup. We're gonna fry the ketchup in oil a little bit just to get a little aroma on there. We've marinated our beef. Gotta go get my ketchup. I forgot my ketchup.
David Gordon responded to our tomato sandwich.
What did he say?
He said, try cheese bagel with Philadelphia jalapeno cream cheese, sliced tomato, lightly salt. Bingo.
Bingo? He said bingo.